Hey everyone, today we're going to be covering Erwin, Tennessee. I realized we have covered a lot of North Carolina, and honestly I've been neglecting our neighbors, Unicoi County. Erwin, Unicoi, all of Unicoi County was very hard hit during Hurricane Helene. You can see this is the hospital behind me. This is probably the hardest hit area, one of the hardest hit areas. Honestly, it goes up and down the river, the destruction, houses gone. I'm going to be showing you the impact from the ground from throughout Erwin. I had to come to this town today anyway, doing some interviews with county officials about some of the research I'm doing into some of the search groups that have been coming in through this area. So I figured since I'm in town anyway, I really should show the impact of this storm even 2 months later. This is 2 months later, and you can see workers are still working on this, on the Riverside. There's just so much. There's such a wide area, and the land itself has been stripped away to the point that it just looks so different than it used to before the flooding. I'm not going to talk too much. Really, this is for the people of Erwin. I really want to, just like we did in Relief and the mountains throughout North Carolina, I really want to let people know how hard hit this town was and what they're still going through as of today, and just the amount of recovery left for Erwin, Unicoi County in general. So let's get going. One of the first places I wanted to visit was one of the hardest hit and the deadliest disaster in Erwin during the flooding following Hurricane Helene, the Impact Plastics manufacturing plant. As I drove down the remains of the county road that used to pass by the front of the Impact Plastics facility, I was stunned by the sheer size of the debris piles. Plastic products are strewn across the landscape like some massive beast had picked up the contents of the plant and threw them across the countryside. There's heavy equipment everywhere, with workers doing their best to collect the debris into piles to be hauled away by dump trucks. The county road eventually comes to an end at a muddy field well traveled by heavy equipment. The events on that fateful day started with a flash flood warning being issued for Erwin due to Hurricane Helene at around 9:14 and 9:20 a.m. Foam Plastics Corporation closed on September 26th and told workers to stay home on September 27th. At Old Hickory Buildings, which was open on September 27th, managers sent their employees home at 7:42 a.m. At 10:39 a.m., power went out at the Impact Plastics plant. At 10:40 a.m., everyone in town, including Impact Plastics employees, received public flood warnings on their phones. In the next 5 to 10 minutes, employees saw and took photos of the parking lot getting covered with water. According to Knox News, the company allowed employees to leave at 10:50 a.m. Senior managers were the last to leave the building at 11:35 a.m. According to an Impact Plastics internal investigation, video footage showed employees leaving 45 minutes after the plant had closed. A video captured by Old Hickory Buildings showed the area around it covered in waist-deep water by noon. Around 11 a.m., according to an interview Knox News did with Old Hickory Buildings factory manager Ron Kell, the county road, the one escape route from Impact Plastics, was impassable. He used the company's John Deere tractor to cut an escape route from the parking lot to the railroad tracks behind the business. Kell helped a number of people escape, including the 3 he picked up with his truck as he himself escaped the flooded area. Once the worst of the floodwaters hit the area, 11 workers at Impact Plastics factory had decided to cling to the back of a flatbed semi-truck. 5 of those workers were rescued by Tennessee National Guard helicopters, but 6 were swept away by the raging Nolichucky River floodwaters. Their remains were eventually discovered in a debris field near Interstate 26. The names of the missing are Sabrina Barnett, Monica Hernandez, Bertha Mendoza, Johnny Peterson, Lydia Verdugo, and Rosia Marie Andrade Reynoso. The family of Johnny Peterson filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Impact Plastics, claiming the managers forced employees to stay at work longer than they should have. The company denies this allegation. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and Tennessee Occupational Safety and Health Administration have launched separate investigations of Impact Plastics. Even today, 2 months later, you can see debris fields up and down the interstate near Impact Plastics, where you can see plastics products spread across the ground and debris fields all up and down the side of the interstate. As I continued deeper into areas throughout Erwin, I saw mailboxes without a home and creeks carrying scattered debris, widened by the memory of the floodwaters. As you go down closer to the Nolichucky River itself, you'll see an expanse of land on each side that defies logic. The water, having returned to normal levels, appears like a stream flanked by large rocky beaches on both sides, with the occasional burning debris pile as workers continue trying to return the landscape back to some semblance of normal. Roadways that should be untouchable by the river are stripped at the edges with cones warning drivers to beware. You can see the bridge near the Chestoa Recreation Area has been swept away, still to be repaired. Along the river, the most common sight you'll see are dump trucks carrying gravel and stone to continue with the rebuilding of roads. And the next most common sight is family, friends, and volunteers working hard at rebuilding or repairing homes swept away or damaged by the floodwaters. And in some cases, you'll see homes either partially or totally destroyed, seemingly abandoned, as the owners are likely battling with their insurance company, FEMA, or both. When you cross the river to the Chestoa Recreation Area, you no longer see families picnicking or rafters coasting down the whitewater. Now you see lines of dump trucks as railroad workers continue the long work of repairing the railroad throughout the Nolichucky Gorge. There is a constant stream of dump trucks traveling back and forth along the tracks as they bring materials in and out of the gorge for the repairs. The railroad company faces not only the challenge of rebuilding efforts, but lately, legal challenges from the Army Corps of Engineers and environmental groups for using resources from the river as part of their rebuilding work. Honestly, you guys, the sheer level of destruction here in Erwin, it matches anything that we saw in Relief and Elk Park and all the other places we visited in North Carolina. This is the hospital where patients had to be airlifted by the National Guard helicopters. This whole field right here was flooded. You can see all the sand and the mud, and it stretched all the way. The water covered all of this. It was a lake over here. You can see them burning on the other side. That's the direction of the railroad tracks. The water filled all of this, and you can see it carved away the land over here. There's just drop-offs. The land was cut away by the flooding and the water. The barn over there was mostly destroyed. Thankfully, their house was not destroyed. Kind of high enough on the hill, I guess. The houses over there were too low and they were swept away. Part of it was cut off. You can see that white house that I was at just a while ago. The back end of it was ripped away by the water, partially standing. This area here is actually a gas station. The gas station is functional. You can see the Mexican restaurant here. They've had to take a lot of stuff out of there. The water must have come up all the way over here and flooded that as well. The Mountain Inn Suites is out of commission. There's workers on the front that are rebuilding the entrance, so the water must have come up all the way over here. You can see all the destruction of the parking lot over here. Pavement just ripped away. The water was right up over here where I'm standing even. which is just crazy. The land over there too, this was where it started to really get ripped away. You can see the drop-offs. On the far side of those trees, there's brown, and I'm going to show you a shot here, a close-up of that land. You can see how much land has been stripped away, how steep that cliff is. It's crazy, just the amount of, the height of the land that was stripped away in some areas here in Erwin is just, it's hard to believe. And then the debris on the far side of this opening here is just lining the river. The river is now way back down, and the land around it is just destroyed. This is, I've driven by this many times. Today, this was the first time I'm doing a deep dive and actually going into these areas, seeing it close up. And from the highway, you can see the impact plastics destruction, and all of the debris from that plant was, I mean, you can see all the plastic piled up all the way down the interstate. Along the sides of that creek are just covered with plastic pieces, plastic everywhere. But further up the interstate, you can see some of the destruction from the interstate. Once you get off and you come to this gas station, behind the gas station is just, it shows you the rest. The hospital, of course, still standing, but it was completely flooded, and the evacuations thankfully saved lives. Impact plastics, unfortunately, there were lives lost there, but there were lives saved as well. This is just as hard to see as the North Carolina visits that we did, and it's just, I don't know. This is 2 months after the fact, you guys, and they're just trying to clean off the land by the hospital. Workers are just getting the hotel entrance fixed. You can see all of this is still here, and there's so much of it. It goes all the way over there. That's the bridge that crosses into Erwin from the interstate. It's definitely going to take a long time to get things, I think, back to normal in Unicoi County. It's just so much. There's so much to be cleaned up, and just not enough people to do it. So